Hello, welcome to this week's hip-centric yoga. Today we're going to get really deep into the hips and glutes, so we're going to get started right away. Come to a seated position with your feet just wider than hip width and a couple of feet away from the body. Hold on to the knees and start to pull your chest forward so you're really straightening your back. If you need some extra space here, you can rock onto the outer edges of the feet. Really working on spreading the sacrum, the lower back, pulling the shoulders down, broadening the chest and the collarbones, preparing ourselves for the practice ahead. Now, see if you can maintain that shape, letting go of your legs, letting them fall over to the left-hand side. Pushing yourself up onto your shins before slowly lowering back down, rocking the legs over to the right, pushing into your shins, coming up high and slowly releasing down. If this is too difficult, you can keep your hands on the floor and just rock from side to side. We're going to come back over to the left, slowly lowering down, through center, rocking to the right, pushing up, squeezing the glutes, and lowering down. Continuing to do this side by side, inhaling as you push yourself up, exhaling as you lower down, getting into those hips and hip mobility, hitting all the tight points that we get in our day-to-day lives, whether that be through running, sitting, or other types of exercise. We're just going to go one more time to the right, pushing up, last one nice and strong, lower down, and come back to center. Straighten your legs out in front of you, shake that out. You can rub up and down through the shins and through the thighs. Get that blood flowing. Okay, coming back to that familiar stance, the knees just wider than the hip, feet slightly turned out, holding onto the shins, opening our chests. So if you bring your hands to the floor here, that's fine. Otherwise, you can keep your hands up and just let your knees rock over to the right. Arms out in front, pushing back up onto your shins. Using our hip flexors here, we're going to push back into pigeon pose. Coming onto the right shin, pushing the left leg back. Bring your hands down and settle into the position. Stretching your left leg long behind you. Clicking your right toes into the floor and flexing that foot strongly. Working on keeping your hips even. Bring your forearms down to the floor. So this doesn't have to be a static pose. As you can see here, I'm moving side to side, loosening up through the hips. Might be first thing in the morning for you. That can leave us feeling a bit tight, a bit rusty. We're working on flattening out our lower back there, so it's really easy to round over the right hip when you're folding onto the right side. But keeping your focus there, we're trying to keep the hips even. Starting to relax down. Every breath just going a little micromillimeter deeper. You can think of pulling the right knee closer to the hip and pushing the left hip closer to the foot. Just a couple more breaths here, keeping your shape, making sure that you're not flopping, keeping your stomach lifted, legs strong. And on your next inhale, slowly push yourself back to an upright position. And if you can, bringing your hands out in front of you and just pulling the left leg forward, letting it go all the way forward so it's stretched out in front of you. We're now going to bring the right foot to the left thigh. Bring your left fingertips to the outside of the left thigh, right arm up, and as you exhale, just fold forward. If you can, holding onto the outside of the left foot, you can always use a strap here or you can stay upright. Rather than thinking of just folding forward, try to think of pulling your left ribs back and pushing your right hips forward and round. So it's more of a twist through the torso. You should be feeling this quite strongly through that front thigh, pulling the crease of the left hip joint back, working on straightening that lower back, pulling the shoulders down, making sure you're not holding any tension in your face. And come back up to center. You know the drill. Arms out in front of you. Bend the right leg behind you, left leg in. I'm going to repeat on the other side, pushing the right leg far back into pigeon pose. Left knee is bent, left knee next to left hand, left foot next to right hand, and lowering down onto your forearms. You can intensify this stretch by just inching your straight leg further backwards, really lengthening, and pushing the right shin down into the floor. So it won't look like much movement, but you'll feel it internally. Remembering that you can always place a pillow, a towel, or a blanket underneath your hips if you find that you're far off the floor, or if this is feeling particularly uncomfortable to you. Remember that there should never be any pain. A little bit of discomfort is fine, but any pain you need to back off. Remembering to keep the legs nice and strong, stomach lifted up and in. And push yourself back up to an upright position, rocking onto the left hip, arms out in front, swinging the right leg round to the front, straight out in front of you, bringing the left foot to the inside of the right thigh, right hand out to the side, left arm reaching up, folding and reaching forward, holding the outside of the right foot with the left hand. You can just let your head relax here, trying to take deep breaths all the way down into the stomach. Rocking onto the left hip, bend the right leg up behind you, push back onto your shins so you're coming upright, sit down between your heels so that you're able to bring your feet out in front of you. Now you might be a bit off on your mat like me, so do a little turn around and come back to that seated position, holding onto the knees, pulling your chest forward and through. Well done. We're going to move on here, so grab your strap. Remember, you can use a belt or a towel, anything you have to hand. And we're going to come and lay down on our backs. Now, what I want you to do here is really notice the positioning of your pelvis. So if you feel that you tuck your pelvis slightly under, you can feel that the whole length of the spine is pressed into the floor. Now, if you tilt your pelvis away, you should have a slight gap underneath your lower back. You don't want anything too drastic, but you do want to try and maintain that very slight gap. That's more of a neutral spine position. Now, hook your strap over your right foot, stretch it up towards the sky. You can keep your left leg bent or straighten it out like I am here. If your leg doesn't come this high and it's down at this kind of angle, that's absolutely fine. Still getting the work. Otherwise, pull the leg in, remembering to keep that space in your lower back. It's really easy to forget about the straight leg on the floor. So I want you to really actively pull the kneecap up and keep the foot strongly flexed, the toes almost pointing back towards your face. I'm not here for much longer. Deep breathing. Now start to transfer the strap into the right hand. Turn the toes out and the heel in and just slowly start to open your leg out to the side. You might not get very far, that's absolutely fine, but the main point is that we don't want the left hip to start lifting up or bulging off the floor. You can put your left hand on that hip just to reinforce the feeling of keeping it down. The moment it starts coming off the floor, you need to back off slightly with your right leg, pull it up, maintaining that flexed foot and lifted kneecap on the left side. And on your next exhale, come back to center. Briefly pull the knee and the leg back into the body and release. And pull the right knee close to the chest. We're going to do a brief recline twist here. So with your right knee, bring it across your body, right arm out, looking over the shoulder, using props if your knee's not quite on the floor. Just really getting that expansive opening through the back, through the chest. And this is a really great movement to do first thing in the morning and right before bed. A great tension relief. Then come back to the center. We're going to switch to the other side, hooking the left foot, keeping the right leg bent, or you can start to straighten it out, and pushing the left foot up towards the sky. Once again, maintaining that slight arching of the lower back. So the rock of the pelvis forward and away. Right foot nicely flexed, kneecap lifted, hip firmly planted on the floor. Remembering at any point you can lower that leg, you can bend either of your knees. This is completely about what feels best for you. And when you're ready, transfer the strap into the left hand and start to open the leg out to the left hand side. You might find that you have more space this side or the other side. It's very, very common to have one side that's looser than the other. So we're not trying to correct that here, we're just trying to create some balance. So just acknowledge it, bring the foot back to center, release the strap, and just hug the knee into the chest. On your next exhale, start to bring your left knee across the body into your twist. Left arm out, looking softly over your left shoulder. This should feel very relaxed, squeezing out the tension from your lower back. Rolling back to center. Bringing both knees slowly to your chest. Maybe gently rocking from side to side, massaging the lower back. We're going to finish with a brief happy baby. So bending the knees to either side of the torso, holding onto the inside or the outside of the feet, just starting to pull the legs down towards you. If this feels extremely difficult to you, just stay in that knees to chest position that we were in before, hugging the knees in tightly. You can rock from side to side again, this can feel really nice. And release, hugging everything in tight before you let everything go and relax down into your final relaxation pose, Savasana. Allowing your feet to open out to the side, taking up as much space as you need, palms up, eyes softly closed, letting go of any heavy breathing that you were doing. Stay here for as long as you need. I'd recommend 3 to 5 minutes. Thank you for joining me. I hope to see you again next week.